Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be going over my 2022 mock draft just because I've been working on this video for a while and I decided it would be a good sort of thing because obviously the Viking season has been done for a while, but just looking ahead to the draft and free agency, but I'm not going to get into all that anymore because I got future videos of free agent class and maybe other mock drafts coming later. Getting right into it. My number one pick is Charles Cross. He's an offensive tackle out of Mississippi State. He is my number one ranked tackle in this class. And I just think the Jaguars kind of need a surefire, good offensive lineman to protect Trevor Lawrence. And in my thinking, he's the best lineman in the class. He's a great pass blocker, a good run blocker. And I just think he'd be a very crucial piece to that Jaguars offensive line, as they also need to protect Travis Etienne and James Robinson in the backfield, which they kind of just got blown up earlier this year. So obviously protecting your franchise QB is a must. Number 2, I got Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's an edge out of Oregon. He's my number one ranked edge rusher in the class. People thought Aiden Hutchinson should go here. I just didn't really think that would fit for Detroit, as I think Thibodeaux is just a better prospect. The Lions should just get a good pass rusher to make their defense kind of decent, as it has been as of late. And Thibodeaux, I just think he'd be a great fit with his great edge presence and just the ability to kind of like pressure the main guy, as in the quarterback. And I think people would even start double teaming him even in his rookie year. Number 3, I got Derek Stingley Jr. He's the corner out of LSU. He's my number 2 ranked corner in the class. I just think he's more of a Texans scheme fit, so kind of just took him here. The Texans need some defensive talent, and I think that Stingley would just be a great franchise corner to add to the secondary, which has played poorly. So adding him would just help so much and help tremendously to their defense. And Stingley is a great in man and zone coverage, along with this elite press ability where he just doesn't give too much room to receivers unless he really wanted to in order to make a play on the ball. So I just think Stingley is a very good corner, but he's not my number 1 because you see who I have the number 1 corner going to later in this draft. So I think it would just be a great fit for the Texans to at least get a franchise corner. At Kyle Hamilton at 4, safety, Notre Dame. He's my number 1 safety in the class. The other 2 safeties in this class really aren't projected first-round talent too much, so kind of had to maneuver here. The Jets should just have a top 10 defense now with this pick because their edge is amazing. I was considering Hutchinson, but they have Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers. I think it's Falonzo Fatukasi. Quinnen Williams, obviously. The linebackers are sort of weak, but I think they could just improve their defense with Kyle Hamilton. And I just think with this pick, Hamilton is the best player in the class in my mind. He's just a safety, so he's not going to go in the top 3 in my thinking. So, yeah, he just has a great ability to make a play on the ball. He has good range, versatility, tackling, just whatever you really need him to do. He'll go out there and do it. So, really excited to see him get in action. Hopefully, make a couple plays out there for the Jets. As I kind of like the Jets. I just think they're a good team now with being coached under Robert Saleh. Here at number 5, finally, Aiden Hutchinson, who's projected to go number 1 on a lot of people's draft boards, but I got Hutchinson, edge Michigan, at number 5. He's my number 2 rusher in the class. The Giants just need a great edge, so they should get pressure consistently, which they haven't been able to do recently. And I just think it would be a great defensive addition to the team. He has great strength, so he can just run that man over on the offensive line. And He has a lot of pros that the other people on that line don't have, and this will just be a great pick because now that defensive line consisting of Azeez Ojulari, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, and Aiden Hutchinson would take over the league, as this, I think, would be a great pick for the New York Giants, unless they trade this pick away. Number 6, I got Evan Neal, offensive tackle, Alabama. He's my number 2 ranked tackle in the class here. Evan Neal would just be a great piece on that offensive line for the Panthers. So they need protection for Sam Darnold, and they really should consider making a move for a quarterback. So they could actually compete this year by trading maybe McCaffrey or something like that. He's a good run blocker and an okay pass blocker. I just think he'd be a cornerstone next to Taylor Moton and some other young guys that they have on that line. And I think just Carolina Panthers need a good tackle. And I think Evan Neal would fit that role very well. And kind of hoping he goes to Carolina because I like Carolina and I like the jerseys. And I think Evan Neal would be a great fit there. Number 7 here, I got George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue. He's my number 3 edge in the class, but I just have the Ravens making a trade up with the Giants. The Giants give up the number 7 pick, while the Ravens give up the number 14 pick and the number 46 pick. And I just think the Ravens need a pure edge guy, so I think Karlaftis would be a great pass rusher for the Ravens. This is my only trade I have in the first round, just kind of a spoiler to go ahead. I just think the Ravens are willing to make a trade up to get George Karlaftis, as they could really get a very good rush game going now, even though they get pressure as it is, but their edge rushers are very old and their defensive line in general is old, so I'd like to see them improve there. Number 8, the first quarterback off the board, I got Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty, at number 8. He's my number 1 ranked QB in the class. As I just think the Falcons could use a QB for a while because I just think Matt Ryan is kind of at his end after the end of next year. And Willis is very accurate and has great speed, so the Falcons could have a fast QB for the future. And maybe Ryan can coach up his passing ability, get him ready for the future as the Falcons' next good quarterback over the next few years, and maybe we can lead them to a playoff run. I'd hope so. I like the Falcons. So, Malik Willis, go ahead and get him. Number 9 here, I got back-to-back quarterbacks. Sam Howell, QB, North Carolina. Number 2 overall QB in my class after scouting most of the first-round prospects. The Broncos need a QB, and I just think Howell could be the most accurate QB in the class, and he can really run when he needs to, and the Broncos would just be a great fit in my mind for Howell, and he should perform well on that team. As in in North Carolina, he performed well with very subtle weapons, and the Broncos don't have too many weapons outside of Judy, Sutton. I just really don't think Tim Patrick or KJ Hamler are really in that conversation right now. I mean, they got Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, so that offense is quite good, Noah Fant. I just think it's a perfect situation for Howell, as he could really develop under that Broncos team, and having a rookie quarterback for once that isn't named Drew Lock would be nice for the Broncos just to get a fresh start. Number 10 here, got a Cam Ekwonu, offensive tackle, NC State, North Carolina State to be precise. He's my number 3 ranked tackle in the class. Cam Ekwonu would just make the Jets O-line very young and quite good now, as they would have 4 under third-year players. And I just think he's very good at run blocking, which that's very good for the Jets because they need to be able to protect Michael Carter and Zach Wilson back there. And I think he's okay at pass blocking, which is most of the case with the Jets, is they have very good run blockers, so maybe this isn't the best pick, but I think it's best player available. And he can play guard if he really needs to, and I think he would just be good, I expect, right away. So, if they already have a surefire tackle there, they could coach him up a tackle, but play him at guard, so get him some experience and some real game time. But I just think that'd be a great pick for the Jets. At number 11, I got Matt Corral, QB out of Ole Miss. He's my number 3 QB in the class, so he's middle of the pack. Matt Corral would just make sure that the Washington QB issues would be shored up and in an instant. And I just believe that Corral is a nice deep pass and very accurate and can show his speed at times. As Heineke is just not the future of the QB position, neither is Fitzpatrick. So bringing a guy like Corral could very much so help them and sort of just improve their overall team. Number 12, I got Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner. Cornerback at number 12 here out of Cincinnati. He's my number 1 corner in the class, going to the Vikings. Ahmad Gardner, he's very good. He's just very good at press and zone. Quarterbacks just don't throw at him because the QBs are kind of scared that he's going to pick it off from them. And he'd make the Vikings defense quite good. Again, especially in the secondary, as Vikings defense has been kind of iffy. We've had good sacks, like sacking going on in the backfield. But our DBs have been okay outside of Patrick Peterson, who could coach up Gardner. And I'd really like to see that because we got a lot of veterans here in, the Vikings QB room. So I'd like to see Gardner come to the Vikings as he's a very good corner. Number 13, I got Garrett Wilson, first receiver here, out of Ohio State. He's my number 1 receiver in the class. The Browns really need a receiver because they really only have Jarvis Landry now. So I think if they at least get Garrett Wilson so they can have a successful offense with Baker because he just got shoulder surgery. So obviously he needs to rehab from that, but getting some good receivers could help. Wilson can just high point the football, go up there and get it, and he has some really nice route running. I saw how he can just get open on an instant, so really like to see him go to the Browns as I think that is a good fit for him. Number 14, as you remember from earlier, I got Desmond Ridder, quarterback out of Cincinnati. He's my number 4 QB in the class. As you see, QBs are going quite early here. I believe it's 4 QBs in the last 6 picks or something like that. As you remember from earlier, the Giants traded back, and the Giants just end up getting a good QB back here to replace Daniel Jones because Jones is just terrible. And I just think Ridder could solve that issue for the Giants. He has nice accuracy and okay throw power for a QB, and he kind of seems like a Giants type of quarterback where he can show off that nice accuracy and okay throw power, which has kind of been same old for the Giants, but just bringing a little speed into that offense, being able to deliver some nice passes could really evolve the Giants into betterness later. Number 15, I got Andrew Booth, cornerback, Clemson. He's my number 3 overall corner in the class. If the Eagles can just get a corner at the spot, that'd be very helpful, as it is to kind of have a good defense, and a piece in the secondary would help them tremendously. So I just think they could have a top 5 defense in the league next season. He's pretty good, but he can get lost in coverage sometimes. But I just think Booth could very easily get coached up by Slay. So kind of leading to this pick. The Eagles have back-to-back picks in this draft. So number 16, I got David Ojabo, edge, Michigan. He's my number 5 edge in the class. He's just good. So David Ojabo should be quite good for the Eagles, and he could make the Eagles defense top 5 along with the addition of Booth. And then the really only real weakness is kind of linebacker. He has great speed, and he can play DT if he really needs to. And he could get coached up by Fletcher Cox, Dirk Barnett, and those type of guys that have been around for a while, and even Javon Hargrave, who has had a good season. Number 17, Jordan Davis, inside defensive lineman, Georgia. He's my number 2 DT in the class, pretty much. Jordan Davis would be great for the Chargers, and he could pair well with Linval Joseph. You could mentor him, and then the Chargers' defense would be quite big in the middle. And he's very strong, and he has elite ability to push back a lineman when needed. And he has speed, so he can track down the quarterback, along with Joey Bosa, Uchenna Nwosu, and those other guys coming off the edge. Number 18, sort of a surprise pick here, Kenny Pickett, quarterback out of Pittsburgh, goes to the New Orleans Saints. He's my number 5 QB in the class, but they still need a quarterback. Kenny Pickett could just be a great addition to the Saints, as they could get their next franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. Really, the only problem is that they don't have to really deal with pressure. Like, he just doesn't deal with pressure that much, well, and he kind of have to be elite rate away for them to be able to make the playoffs. Their line is good, but I don't think they're going to get Teron Armstead back. So Pickett would be rushed into a kind of bad situation because Michael Thomas, Teron Armstead could be leaving. Number 19, back to the Eagles, Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. My number 1 linebacker in the class. Devin Lloyd would complete the defense for the Eagles now that they can just kind of worry about their offense for the rest of the draft. And now the main focus is that they need to bring in a veteran linebacker to coach him up. But he has an elite tackling ability, which could be very versatile in that Eagles defense, as now they've kind of shored up the 3 sort of weaknesses over the last couple of years. So I'd really like to see that Devin Lloyd go to the Eagles, as he's just a good player, and I just think it'd just be a great scheme fit for the Eagles, as I think that defense is quite good now. Accidentally went back. Number 20 here, Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. He's an inside offensive lineman, I believe. He's a center. He's my number 2 inside offensive lineman in the class. Tyler should just be great, as he could just be a key addition to whoever the Steelers QB ends up being, as it could be Haskins, Rudolph, maybe someone they draft later. He can be the QB of that offensive line. He's very powerful and strong, but he really doesn't have any flexibility to play other positions, like the other positions on the line. So I think that could sort of be a drawback. And I'm really hoping that he does go to the Steelers, as they kind of need to bring in some rookies and get that line kind of coached up. Number 21, the Patriots coming with a booming pick. Jameson Williams, wide receiver, Alabama. Number 3 overall receiver in the class. Jameson Williams should just be able to thrive in the Patriots offense compared to other receivers in this class. The Patriots should be able to just coach him up, and so he could be a great one for them, as he's fast and has good route running and great jump ball ability. And I just think New England would be very pleased by this pick, as they have a couple veterans there, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, who could coach him up and become the number 1 receiver. And that offense now becomes scary. Even though they don't have the most talent, they overperform. So I just think that'd just be a great pick for the Pats. Number 22 here, DeMarvin Leal, inside defensive lineman, Texas A&M. He's my number 1 ranked inside defensive lineman in the class. Leal will just be a great addition to the young Raiders D-line. He can stuff the run very well. He can play DT if he needs, instead of being a 3-tech DT. He's a very good prospect in this year's draft. I'd probably put him in my top 5, but I just think he'll go later, because most teams in this class just really don't need inside defensive linemen, as there's a lot of veteran options now this year. But I think Leal would be a key addition to the Raiders. Number 23, Roger McCreary, cornerback, Auburn. He's my number 4 corner in the class. Roger McCreary should just give a big boost to the Cardinals' defense, especially in the secondary, which has been a weakness for the Cardinals, really, for the past couple of years. But McCreary is a very good man coverage corner, but he really is just okay in zone. And Byron Murphy's good in man, so maybe they just become a man sort of corner team, sort of press the receivers a lot. So I'd really like to see him go to the Cardinals. I think he could be very successful, sort of like an Eric Stokes type of pick. Number 24, I got Travon Walker, edge, Georgia. Number 4 edge in the class here. Travon should be a big boost to the Cowboys defense, which has kind of needed a pure edge guy for a while, besides Parsons. And if they really needed him to, he could play DT, as they could keep DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory on the edge, but I think he'd just be successful anywhere they put him. I think he'd just be a good scheme fit for the Cowboys because he's very versatile. I just think Travon Walker is kind of my best draft pick this year. I just think he's the most potential in the class. I think he's going to tear up the league on the Cowboys now. Quote me, I just think he's going to be the best player in this class. Number 25, I got Kenyon Green, inside offensive lineman, Texas A&M. He's my number 1 ranked inside offensive lineman in this class. I just think he's going to fall to the Bengals. Kenyon Green would really help the Bengals offensive line. He has great speed, which helps him be very good at pass blocking. Also, the Bengals can be very good now, which would be very good for them, to make consistent playoff runs. And I just think Kenyon Green really adds to that offensive line with Jonah Williams, who's actually the only Bengals offensive lineman I can name off. Maybe Riley Reef if he's still there. I honestly have no idea. But I just think the Bengals need line as they passed on it in last year's draft. So, gotta pick it up here. Yeah, in the back of the draft, it seems. So, gotta really pick up a lineman and maybe even reach for one. Number 26, Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State. My number 2 receiver in the class. Dotson could just add some consistency to the Dolphins receiving core, which has been very good when healthy. And he could also just add to the core very well in my mind. He has elite speed, he has good route running for a smaller guy. That kind of sounds like Jalen Waddle, you might ask, but in my eyes, he's better than Waddle. And that kind of creates less of a need for Will Fuller, so they don't have to pay him. As Dotson is just a perfect replacement for Fuller. Maybe they get another receiver later in the class and they can get rid of Parker. Maybe put Bowden in there or something. So, I just think this would be a great pick for the Dolphins. Number 27, Trevor Penning, offensive tackle, Northern Iowa. Trevor would just be a great player for the Bills. They need some young linemen to accommodate the older guys who mostly could just teach Trevor, who is a very developable piece on the line, where you could play him at guard, tackle, center. Really just like your Taysom Hill of the offensive line. And I really think the Bills could use that. Maybe you don't play him the first year, get him in action next year, but I just think the veterans on that line are very willing to, teach him, even if it makes them a backup. I just think they'd be happy to help another guy there. Number 28, Carson Strong, quarterback, Nevada. Strong could be a great addition to the team as they kind of need a quarterback for the future, as I just don't think Goff is the future of the team, and he could coach up the rookie, and I believe he could bring promise for Detroit, same as, little boy Stafford did. And this could really just make, Detroit possibly maybe a top 15 team in the league now. With this much talent, that's very much so pushing it. But I just think Dan Campbell's a good head coach, so he can maybe coach up Strong, get him into that biting the kneecaps territory there. Number 29, Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State, number 4 in the class. In my rankings for the Chiefs. I believe that the Chiefs are not really content with the current group of wide receivers, so I think Olave would be the best option because he has elite speed and gets open a lot compared to the other receivers that are in this draft. Like Michael Hardman, you need to get rid of him. He's just speed. He doesn't really get open. So Olave is same speed pretty much, but actually has route running. And you don't really need that third receiver anymore. Whoever that could be, I don't even know who the third receiver for the Chiefs is, so That's kind of a problem, but it's just whoever they put out there. But now Olave can get some really good starting time. Number 30, Traylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. Or Kansas or something, whatever. He's my number 5 receiver in the class, kind of tailing the end of the first round. This is only a first round mock draft, but Burks will just be good for the Bucks, and I believe that Godwin will leave in free agency to the Raiders, but Burks in my mind would be a great replacement for Godwin, and he could be a very key addition to that offense while they need to be more successful. Because obviously Mike Evans can't just carry that receiving group, and Antonio Brown's gone, so. Number 31, second to last pick in this mock draft, Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive tackle, Ohio State. He'd be a great addition to that Titans offensive line, as it seems that he could need help working on some skills that the other linemen on the team possess/have, and he could really benefit from the veteran presence from those other guys, so I really just think that's a good pick for the Titans. Number 32, Nakobe Dean, linebacker, Georgia, number 2 guy in the class at his position. I don't have the Packers winning the Super Bowl, but this website does, so I just went off of their draft order. Dean would be great for the Packers, as they could use him to replace Devondre Campbell, because, Devondre Campbell is only on a 1-year deal, so not good for them, as for the Packers, as Dean is very good at tackling, which he could be very good for them, and have an elite run stuffer. Dean is also has some very good IQ, so his instincts is perhaps his best skill. I didn't really want to end the draft with the Packers, but it's whatever I was thinking about. They could just trade back into the mid-second round, maybe get Jaquan Brisker, safety, and maybe they could trade Amos. But that's going to wrap it up here for this mock draft. See you guys next time, and hope you enjoyed. Maybe comment, give me some feedback. Maybe like, subscribe. Alright, see ya.